Does the quality of the alcohol you use in a cocktail really matter? Today, let's find out. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to make a cocktail with 3 different boozes. We're going to make it with the cheapest stuff we could find. We're going to make it with the mid-tier stuff that you're probably already using. And we're going to make it with some real top shelf stuff that you may be not reaching for. And we're going to see if we can really notice a difference. Maybe we could be using absolute rock gut stuff and save ourselves a few bucks. I genuinely don't know. It's anybody's guess. Let's do it. Well, I want to start with that old fashioned, and I'm going to make it 3 ways. We're going to use Early Times, which I think had an MSRP of like $8. We're going to use 4 Roses Bourbon, which is a very nice middle of the road bourbon. And we're going to use this nearly priceless bottle of Old Fitzgerald. I am embarrassed to admit what we paid for this and that I'm about to put it in a cocktail. The worst part is I actually like this one. Not a fan of the Pappy at all, but this one I actually quite liked. So it's going to be 2 ounces of bourbon, 1/4 ounce of simple syrup, 2 dashes of Angostura Bitters, stir it and build it in the glass with a twist of orange. The one thing about bourbon is that, unlike a lot of other spirits, bourbon has quite a few quality controls and regulations about it. So I don't know if there's going to be a huge difference in these. That's sort of my prediction, but let's find out. Overcharred. It's got a lot of burn in there, but otherwise, that's okay. The flavor hangs out a little bit longer. It's a little bit more interesting, but they're still kind of recognizable as each other. Let's see the Old Fitzgerald. That is a wildly different character. The whole thing is so much more dry, and there's a big tobacco note in there. Wow. I did not expect that. That's really cool. And it just keeps delivering. The profile just came back with a little bit more of that humidor and tobacco stuff. I may have to finish this drink. This one might have to linger for the episode. It'd be kind of a waste. It's delicious. It's phenomenal. It's one of the best old fashions I've ever had. It keeps getting better. Let's go back to the 4 Roses versus the Old Fitzgerald. Totally fine. Nothing wrong with it. Honestly, though, not very different from the Early Times. Back to the Old Fitzgerald. It's really good. Strong caramel up on the nose there. And I don't mean like, oh, that's sort of like caramel. I mean like walking into a place that makes caramel candies, that experience of being saturated with that aroma. Specifically, if you want to out me as a Disney adult, the caramel kuch in the German pavilion at Epcot. It is the experience of being in there. It segues into the sweetness and the orange, and then from there, it turns into this tobacco flavor. And I don't mean like smoke, because I'm not a smoker, I don't like smoke, but like the smell of an unburned cigar, the smell, the experience of being around or in a humidor. And it lingers, and it comes back as I swallow my own saliva, as I breathe. It has real staying power and evolution, and it is the best of the 3, and not even by a little bit, but by a long shot. So my takeaway here is that if you're looking at what bourbon to buy for making old fashions, I think there might be something to be said. Unless you're going to spend a lot of money, go with the cheaper stuff. I think it'll be fine, you know? Bourbon is bourbon. It's highly controlled stuff. $10 bottle of Early Times is performing just about as good as a $35 or so bottle of 4 Roses, but neither one can hold a fucking candle to this $700 bottle of Old Fitzgerald. As I stand here and enjoy this beautiful Old Fitzgerald, ridiculous old fashioned, one of the best old fashions I've ever had in my life, I want to remark about the glassware. You know, the glassware here all came from Whiskey. Whiskey, they came to me, they said, Greg, we'd love to sponsor the show. I said, let me see your glassware. They have beautiful glassware. All the glassware on How to Drink is provided by Whiskey. And if you like any of the glassware you see, you want to get something for your home bar, you can use the link in the comment below. You can use the link up here in the eye, and you can use How to Drink 15 at checkout. You're going to get 15% off of your order if you use my link. So thank you to Whiskey for sponsoring the show, and hopefully this glassware will find a home in your bar. Let's make a gin martini. What we've got on the dock for our gin martini is Fleischmann's Extra Dry, which is gin with natural flavors. Very good sign right there. I have Tanquaray, which is a great fine gin, and Monkey 47, which is usually considered a very premium gin, right? This is like a top shelf gin. It's certainly not well liquor. If you go to a bar and ask for a top shelf gin martini, it's gonna be tank. This is a premium gin. Is it an ultra premium gin? No, we're not really dealing with ultra premium spirits here, with the exception of maybe that Old Fitzgerald, but it's an issue of That's an issue of opinion. Ultra premium stuff, you're talking like $200, $300 a bottle minimum, I would say, which I know sounds crazy, but I think that's an accurate assessment. So here we go. We're gonna do 3-to-1 gin, vermouth, 2 dashes of orange bitters, and a twist of lemon. That's the way I like them. All right, I got 3 gin martinis here. Let's start with the Fleischmann's. That's bad. To call that gin, I don't even know. Honestly, it tastes a little bit like a tide, like a low tide kind of a vibe, like just a touch. Even on my fingers now, I can smell like rot. Bad, bad, bad. Ugh. So I think that's answering that question. Don't use Fleischmann's in your gin martini. Yeah, that's recognizable as gin. Much brighter juniper notes. It complements the citrus. It's remarkable how different they are. My God, that $20 or $30 of difference is doing a lot of work here. Much brighter, much more citrusy, much more refreshing, much more little zhuzh. I don't know. That's nice. It's a nice like cool, cold, foresty breath of fresh air. The other one tastes like drinking the armpit sweat from a sea witch. And now we're gonna have the Monkey 47. And here, I don't know that there's I mean, it's a slight difference. It's not the same gin. It has a more subtle juniper note, maybe a brighter citrus note, but I wouldn't say it's better. Like, whereas objectively, these are both light years better than $7 gin. I think these two are more about personal preference. I would stick with the Tanquaray or something in that price range, unless you happen to know you need a Monkey 47. Meredith, I don't know about you, I can't drink a gin martini without thinking about Auntie Mame. You, a gay woman, are unfamiliar with Auntie Mame.
Oh, say, maybe you're a pretty fast drinker. No. Don't worry, I'm way ahead of you.
But no,
I don't happen to like gin, do you, Mamie?
I adore it.
Good. After dinner, we'll get out the cards and play a little game.
Now we come to the problem what to give the kiddies.
I know it, but I'm not familiar with it. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a film we're going to have to watch on the podcast called Midnight Local that Meredith and I have. It's about an hour long. We're talking about movies. We're bullshitting. There's a link in the pinned comment. You can go up here. It's on YouTube. It's wherever you get your podcasts. Check it out, subscribe, and check out the next episode. Well, let's do a daiquiri. Daiquiris are made typically with a light rum, an unaged rum, something like that. We got Palo Viejo. I think this was like $7 or $8 as well. It's cheap rum. I don't think this is gonna be very good stuff. I know a lot of people hate on Silver Bacardi, but it's fine. It's kind of an industry standard. It is certainly better than the Palo Viejo. And then I've got a tiny little bit of Hamilton 87 left. I think we're gonna have to make this drink at half size, but it'll be a proper daiquiri all the same. And let's get right into it. Usually a daiquiri is gonna be made with an ounce of lime juice, an ounce of simple, and 2 ounces of rum. Shake it up, throw it in a glass. And there we have our 3 daiquiris made with Palo Viejo, our Bacardi White, and our White Stash Hamilton. The thing of it is that there's not really a lot of like super high-end silver rums, white rums. To the extent that there are, they tend not to be the kinds of rums you would use for a daiquiri anyway, like a rum JM, like a rum agricole or something like that. It's not really the right rum, and it wouldn't be a fair comparison. It's a different thing. So it is a little bit more money, I think, than the Bacardi, but not a lot more money. And really the question here, again, is gonna be one of like, well, is the rot gut acceptable to make a daiquiri with? Let's find out. Palo Viejo. I don't taste any rum. That's a much better daiquiri. This is not an offensive daiquiri. It's just not a good daiquiri. The Bacardi actually makes a daiquiri and it tastes like rum. It's good. This isn't top shelf, but it's probably a better rum than Bacardi. Oh my God. It's so much better. Woo! I love that. This Palo Viejo is devoid of character. I mean, it may as well be vodka. I mean, let me try it again. Maybe I'm crazy. The rum brings nothing. It may as well be vodka. The Bacardi has a little bit of rum flavor. You get a little bit of that funk. I don't know if Bacardi could ever be described as funky, but like it shows up. It's got character in this drink. The rum working with the lime is a big part of what makes a daiquiri a good or exciting drink. However, I'm gonna say, this White Stash, really wonderful interplay between the rum and the lime. It's brighter, it has a much more interesting evolution. It's good, it's just really good. Both of these are gonna be fine, and I think that that's the price point. You should be looking at $25, $30 at most for a bottle of rum for a daiquiri. I don't think you could find a way to spend more money on a rum for a daiquiri that would remain a daiquiri. It would become some other drink at that point. But I would not spend $7 or $8 on a bottle of Palo Viejo. That seems like wasted money. We're gonna make an El Presidente now. This is a spirit-forward cocktail. It's dependent on a darker, more aged rum, and I brought 3 darker rums. None of these are like pot still, funky Jamaican style rums, which is really the thing. Is it funky pirate juice rum or isn't it? These are all isn't it's, and so they should be pretty compatible here. We've got our Bacardi Gold, base standard. We've got our Plantation 5-year, mwah, love it. And we've got this R.L. Sears, I think it's like 12-year-old rum. This is supposed to be a very nice rum. I maligned it in another episode, and I didn't know what I was talking about. It came in the mail from one of the many spirits brands who send me bottles in the mail, and I said, what is this curvy bottle? This looks like hokum, but actually it's apparently very lovely rum. And so we're gonna do this drink. It's a stirred drink. We're gonna serve it up. You might be asking, where's the Captain Morgan, or something to that effect. Well, those are spiced rums. They have no business being compared to these other rums. They're more like liqueurs, if that makes any sense. So let's make them 3 El Presidentes. An El Presidente, at least the way I make it, is 1.5 ounces of Lillet, 1.5 ounces of rum, 1/4 ounce of dry curacao, and I like a bar spoon, maybe 2 bar spoons of grenadine, with an orange twist, of course. I haven't had this drink in a while. I don't know why I love this drink, but let's try it. This is a Bacardi Gold El Presidente. That's very nice. Very round. The orange notes, the sweetness is just right. I like this drink. And I didn't really expect Bacardi Gold to be bad. People hate on Bacardi. Bacardi is fine. It's a fine baseline spirit. Let's try the Plantation 5-year. Oh, it's better than the Bacardi. Not that the Bacardi is bad, but there's a lot more nuance to that. It is marginally better, but it's better. It has a longer profile. It's still lingering. That's like a main difference. And I'm noticing that. I think that's a big difference between the cheaper spirits and the better ones. The better ones seem to hang out longer in your mouth. It's a longer experience, a longer evolution. Otherwise, though, the notes are about the same. Let's try this RL Seals, though. I mean, these should be blind, but that, oh, Jesus. That's a lot better. I don't know what the price point is on that. I don't think it's outrageously expensive. 45, 46. So this is a premium bottle. This is a top shelf bottle. This is like a, not a well liquor. I mean, like, you know, it's above the well. I don't know. It's good, but this has a lot of character. This comes in with a deep caramel, little bottom caramel, bassy note, and it swings way up from there into this bright and orangey note. And then it goes through a beat of tobacco, just a brief beat, kind of like a bourbon, and then it rides out this caramel orange sweetness. I mean, it's delicious. That said, unless you had all 3 drinks in front of you to compare them, you would not complain at all about these other 2. They are perfectly servable drinks. It's just that if you happen to have them back to back with something with like an RL Seals, you'd be like, no, okay, no, fine. It's better. All right, it's time to do vodka sodas, because I don't know of another vodka-forward drink to do with vodka that isn't a vodka martini, and we've done gin martinis. So now we're doing vodka sodas. What vodkas do I have? I've got Popov, although I've been told it's maybe pronounced Popov. We got Tito's, which was kind of the champion of our vodka tasting contest. And we've got Dan Aykroyd's Crystal Head vodka, which is filtered 18 times on a bed of pure diamonds or some nonsense. I think this was like 50 or 60 bucks. I haven't tried this one, and it is top shelf. So there's a lot of top shelf stuff in vodka, like celebrity vodka, that is not top shelf. It's garbage that's overpriced. Allegedly, this should be good vodka. All this is vodka, soda, twist a lime. All right, we've got our vodka sodas poured, and I think this is a fine way to test vodkas in cocktails. Here we go with Old Popov. There's like a saltiness to that. There isn't, oh man, it's an after sensation. I don't know if I'd call it an aftertaste, but there is something a little weird there. This is Tito's. Maybe it's less salty? I don't know. I don't know if there's that much of a difference. This is Crystal Head. I gotta tell you, I don't think I can detect a difference in any of these.
Really? Wow.
I don't think so. Here's the funny thing about this, right? We did the vodka game, we did all the vodka tasting, all that was neat, and I even said then, I am splitting hairs. Like, these are very subtle differences. And I said, I think, this is years ago, I bet in cocktails I would never find the differences in these drinks. That may be the case. Let's try it again. I got a blindfold for me? You got a gimp mask I could wear? No, I guess we don't. We'll go to the Tito. We'll go to the Popov. I don't think I can tell the difference in this drink. Dude, they're the same. They're the same, as far as I can tell. There's a part of me that thinks there might be an infinitesimally subtle difference between them, but it's so minute that honestly I think it might be psychosomatic. It's so minor, I'm not gonna actually give any kind of real credit to it. Now, I can't promise you that Popov isn't gonna have a worse hangover than Crystal Head, but as far as taste goes, they're the same. And this idea, by the way, that, oh, cheaper spirits or something like that gives you a worse hangover, I don't know. I don't put a ton of stock in that. Maybe some of the stuff with, like, quote, natural flavors in it, maybe, but, like, there shouldn't be any weird stuff in there. There shouldn't be, like, a lot of methyl alcohol in there, wood alcohol that would do that to you. The heads and tails, there shouldn't be that much of that, or any, really. So I don't think that that's true. I do think that, like, having lots of sugar, and I mean refined sugar in your cocktail, especially if you're gonna have a few of them, you might feel like shit. I know I do. Even when I'm drinking, my head starts to throb and my ears get hot and I get like the pulsatile tinnitus and stuff like that. That's from the sugar. All right, let's move this stupid train right along to our final drink, the Margarita. So Margarita is made typically with 1 ounce of lime juice, 1 ounce of Curacao or triple sec, or in my case, Cointreau, and 2 ounces of tequila. Shake it up, serve it up. Salt is a lovely addition, but for the purposes of our test, I got lazy and I don't need to add salt to these. It's just more work. As long as they're all on the same footing, what does it matter? So here we go, Popov. Stuff's gonna Popov off.
This isn't Popov, this is El Toro.
Oh, El Toro, sorry.
Popov is the last one.
I don't like that. It's got no roundness. I mean, like, that's the interesting thing. I feel like consistently the bottom shelf stuff has just been without notes, just utterly devoid of character of any kind. So let's get into La Gretona, which is technically a reposado, but it's a fairly, I don't know, it's a light reposado. I like that very much. It's totally different. It has a much rounder flavor. It gives the perception of greater sweetness. All of these have the exact same amount of sugar in them. None. Certainly no added sugar. They have the same amount of Cointreau. They have the same amount of lime juice, the same amount of tequila. Is there technically more sugar in La Gretona? I doubt it very much so. If anything, there's probably more sugar in this guy. But this gives a sweeter impression. Not sweet, sweeter, softer, rounder notes, still bracing, still refreshing. Just sliding right through those flavors in a much more pleasant way. We're gonna go to the top shelf now, Don Julio. Now, Don Julio is a lot of a brand, so it might not be better than La Gretona. La Gretona is a little bit less of a brand, although I do see it around now. So it might be cheaper because you're paying for the label over here, which is often the case. Actually, that's quite good. That's quite good. As an issue of personal preference, I do prefer the La Gretona. If you want the brightest, most refreshing margarita of this set, it's the Don Julio, and the Don Julio is quite good. I can find no fault in it. It is bright, it is refreshing. Lime, citrus, certainly no off notes. Very easy, very approachable for a spirit-forward drink. If you throw a little sweetness into these, they're all gonna change a little bit. Maybe La Gretona's got a little bit more funk on it. It's got a little bit more oak, a little bit more, well, you know, we let it go. We let to see where it happened. Whereas Don Julio is like locked in, rock solid, very much so. And also I want to point out too, El Toro Silver, made with imported tequila from Mexico, tequila with natural flavors. So, I mean, it doesn't say 100% blue agave. This is basically the worst tequila you can buy. There is not a tequila on the market. I'm convinced you would be hard-pressed to find something that has worse specs on it than El Toro. It does say premium, though, of course. So, but yeah, it's bad. And both of these are great. It does just come down to an issue of preference. Oh, I will say this. The Gretona is going to be a lot cheaper than the Julio. This was, what, 50 or 60 bucks, the Don Julio. And this was like in the 30-ish price range. Both of them will make you a very, very fine margarita. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been How to Drink, the show about making cocktails and how to drink them. Today we took a look at making drinks with bottom, mid, and top shelf liquors and to see if there was a difference. And I think we learned some things. I think there were some really interesting results about where that mattered and where that didn't matter. If you like this show, you will love our podcast, Midnight Local. There's a link in the pinned comment. There's a link in the corner. We're going to talk about movies. Please hop on over there, check it out, and subscribe. At least take a look, please. It's available wherever you get your podcast. I will see you guys next time on another episode of How to Drink. By the way, if you want more of the show, secrets and behind-the-scenes things, they're over there on Patreon, and you can help us make the show by going to Patreon. Here are 4 things that I think you should know about from the history and future of How to Drink. Good night and good luck.